Hello, it's me again. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I am working on building a 412-2 locomotive. I have used two rivarossi berkshires that were beat up. They worked, but they were beat up. And a 462 piece of a shell. So what I've done here is this is the middle four drivers are like normal. I've chopped a section of the back half of another Berkshire chassis and grinded it down, lined it up, soldered it, and then put a plastic insert in there to hold it in place and glued it. I did the same thing for the front. As you can see, the front and the rear are blind drivers. A lot of people do the blind drivers in the middle, and then there's only four wheels touching the track. I didn't want to do that. I don't have a lot of 18s on my track. There's none on my two main lines. But if I do decide to run it in the inner loop, I don't want the train hanging over the rails like this. I mean, it's just horrible for it to look like that. So that's the way it would look. So what I've done is these four wheels will be on the track. The flanges are there, and the last two and the front two, the flanges are not. It will run on 18s. I won't run it on 18s, but it will if I need it to. So anyway, that's a piece of 18-inch track right there. It gets pretty skewed, but it will operate. So, like I said, I soldered them on. I used old plumbing solder with lead in it. It's a lot stronger than the crap that you can buy now. It's 50-50 acid core is what I used. So this is going to have two traction tires in the center. This is the older style Berkshire. This is one of the older generations. You can tell because the weight is so big. It used to have a square motor in the back, and they came with two traction tires, where the newer models, not in the last 2 centuries, but in the late 70s, the weight was really small, and it only had one traction tire, and they really didn't have a lot of weight, and they didn't pull much. So anyway, the bottom of this shell is a Berkshire. Now, this section here is where the firebox would end. I cut it and I extended it. I gotta clean it up, but I did both sides, obviously. And then the front piece is from I want to say a 464, maybe. Rivarossi. So I bonded them together, and then I had to grind out this section right here so this weight would sit in. I also had to grind out some of the sides so it would fit on the tabs that catch the side of the top of the shell. I had to grind them out. See, this is where it was originally grinded, right here. I had to grind it out here and grind it out here so it would drop down. So I had to chew out the bottom of this shell. And then once I did that, I put masking tape over it, covered it in baking soda, and soaked it with super glue, and then pulled the weight out. and then pulled the tape off and then glued it from the inside, so it's pretty solid. So the weight is screwed back in there. This was the original hole where the transmission shaft came through to go to the chassis here. I filled all these holes. I cut this, so now this is where it is now. And it fits on there. I put right here, I don't know what that came off the the inside of the one of the trains, one of the 464s. It was off the side. It was on inside the it was inside here on the firebox, ash pan or whatever it is. I bonded that in there so it will sit right here and catch a screw. So basically it sits like this. Now I put this train here has this center piston or whatever it is. I really don't know anything about steam locomotives. So I cut that off another set of pistons and bonded it in there, and then made this piece so the frame will sit on there evenly. I don't film while I do this stuff. It takes hours and I have no way of editing it. So I built the chassis the other day, and then I had to, just the chassis. And then I had to, today, these are the Berkshire pistons. This piece here, I don't know where it came from a lopped off frame. It holds that. I had to grind a lot of this out in order for this truck to not hit anything. I'm really not happy with it, but it's the only thing I could do. And I had to move this here and then grind out the bottom half of this so the drivers wouldn't hit it, so they can clear it. And then these rods have been, this is 2 rods right there. They're cut. I shaved them down on the inside. I bent that rod a little bit. Shaved them down so they're a little bit thinner, so there's no big giant lump. And then soldered them. I don't know if you can see that. And then I had to extend these rods too. So it works all right. Now the fact that it even spins this freely is pretty good, because usually when the gear is in there, it binds up. It's just the way it is. I have built some trains that they were free enough that it actually would spin with the gear in there. This one does, but so you can see this spinning. It doesn't bind. We'll find out how good it runs when there's a motor in it, but I worked on this all day long, for it not to bind. So hopefully we're going to be okay. Still has to be oiled up. So far so good. So this is the shell. This is the back half of a Berkshire. I strategically cut it so I could seam it together right there. You can see the difference. This was a Berkshire that I had bought. Somebody painted it. And it ran pretty good, but I needed the parts for something else that I was building, so I stole the parts out of it because it didn't have the original tender. It had some Mickey Mouse tender. I only bought it. I bought it off eBay for like $35 when trains were cheaper. So this piece is Berkshire. This is from a 462. This piece here would have normally been down a little bit. I grinded it down so it's all in the same, and I tried to line it up so some of these rods were in the same position. Now, this train would be the Union Pacific 9000, built by Alco. Unfortunately, this here is Lima. The Lima written all over it just by the shape. I believe Lima, yeah. Lima is who built the Berkshire. So I was thinking about shaving this off and changing it, but I don't know if it's even worth it. So I'll probably just leave it alone. 6 in one, half a dozen the other. Now, I shaved this down and filled it. I still have to shave this piece off in the front and fill that. This light, I'm going to relocate it because it needs to be below the bell. This one here is coming off, and then compressors need to be put on the front. So when it's all, basically we're going to just stick this together here. So when I do these things, I usually run a wire to the front truck because the little rivets that allow these trucks to pivot make a connection. They don't make a connection. So I usually solder a wire directly to the truck. So that's what I did with this one. And you can see the wire right here getting tangled on everything. See, I soldered a wire on there on the front of that truck. And I grinded this lip off, and there's a washer underneath here, and that allows this to pivot pretty good if I do need it to go on an 18. We'll pull this wire through here just for now. So that's what we're looking at. This this big bump of crazy glue and baking soda, it actually had a screw in it when I did it, and then I let it harden and I backed the screw out. So it's threaded, and that's what's going to hold the front of the bottom of the shell to the chassis. So what we got here is something like that. Now I still have to build a pilot, but I want to put a motor in it and make sure the damn thing runs correctly first before I do all that. And that's kind of what the front looks like. It's really not going to look like that when it's done. Like I said, this is going to get shaved off. The bell is going to stay there. I will have to take it off when I shave this off, but this light's going to get moved up below the belt. The sides here, I'm going to hollow those out so the light from the lens comes through the sides, and I'll have more numbers on them, and there'll be number boards. There'll be number boards right here on either side, kind of like the big boy has, except they'll be set back. Motor that I'm going to use is that's a 5-pole motor, 10,000 RPM at 12 volts. Train will be a little fast. These things only went 45-50 miles an hour max speed, so it might be a little too quick, but this is a 5-pole motor. It has 135 GCM is the torque rating, so they're pretty good. I use them in a lot of trains for short money. They fit. I do have a couple other motors that are bigger that will fit. I might put in there and save this for a diesel. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, this is the first video of this train, and hopefully maybe even tonight I'll have another update of it actually on the track running. We'll see what happens. Thank you for watching, and again, happy St. Patrick's Day.